This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Alongside the new Monday Maniac, Pierre Noujaim, Fox 9 Minneapolis. And Pierre, before we start, I noticed on your Instagram, and I should have sent this to Garrett so we could throw it up on the screen, but that you and your lady friend were on opposite sides of a rivalry this week, or a game. I wouldn't call San Jose and the Wild necessarily a rivalry. You know, it doesn't go back to the ancient days of the NHL.
It does not.
It's not Montreal versus Toronto.
It is not. Maybe one day it'll get there, but for the time being, no.
We'll be long dead before it has that kind of cachet.
I tend to agree.
Long dead. People will be going back and finding this and going, oh, look how they used to have to do YouTube videos. Now we just think about them and they happen. Thanks to the chips in our brain from Father Elon. But I ask you this early on. I have been fortunate enough in that Florida State and Kansas have never played each other at anything.
Right.
And Florida State basketball is the last couple of years not good enough to get into the tournament where they would see Kansas. So that's been kind of, bad news, good news kind of a thing for me.
Sure.
Florida State football and Kansas have never played, nor will they probably ever. But could they, in the 12-team play? Look, I'll tell you, in the 12-team playoff this year, there's a good chance that those two teams would both wind up in it. They're both going to be kind of good. So how did you deal? Because the only thing that I've ever gotten from a man on Kansas basketball is that I happen to be friends with Coach Drew and Coach Tang and Coach McCaslin, all three of which have now defeated Kansas this year. And because I'm reticent to say mean things about people who I genuinely adore, she's a little mad at me for those things.
Okay,
so
fair.
How did you navigate the slippery ice, the thin ice, so to speak, of this matchup?
It was honestly a lot easier for me than some people might think, solely because she's very much a t-shirt fan. She's like,
okay.
she is the yay sports ball type of fan. So but she said, because I asked her, it actually, funny enough, in all of her years living here in Minnesota, this was her first ever Wild game. So she had never been to a Wild game before. And I said, well, what are you gonna support your hometown team, or are you gonna support my team? Because I had an extra jersey. I wore my Joe Thornton jersey. I had a Joe Pavelski jersey ready for her.
Yeah.
So she said, no, I'm supporting my guys. This is my hometown team. I said, okay, fine. And it was funny because at the beginning of the game, I could tell she was like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool. But as the game went, the Sharks took a 2-0 lead in that game last night. And I was very excited because I thought the Sharks would lose 4-1 easily. It was a 3-3 game with under 5 minutes to go. And the Wild scored and they ended up winning 4-3. It was a great game. Great game. So, but as the game went on, I could say, because when the Wild scored, they got back in the game, she started to get into it. So, yeah, that was annoying for me. But at the same time, too, I can't be all that mad. The Sharks are going nowhere fast. So I was just hoping for a good game, and we got that. So it was good. It was very good.
Well, look, I'm glad. Okay, because Amanda is in no way a t-shirt fan. That's not the country I live in. You know, I live very much in the she is an assistant coach of the team. I think that's kind of how. I think that's maybe where her. If you took her, if you just took the psyche out, which how she reacts to games, and just put it on the market and said, okay, we need this kind of intensity for what profession? Bill Self's first, not even the fourth guy down the bench assistant coach, not the guy who keeps the timeouts and the fouls. I'm talking about the guy immediately that he would turn to and go, hey, we're down 7 here. What do we do? That guy, that's where it is here. And
I'm impressed by that. I'm impressed.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the reason I say that is because I had to I've seen 2 Kansas games with her this year. Fog Allen Fieldhouse, where they destroyed Houston. And then Saturday, here at the friendly confines of the Foster Pavilion, she got a seat. We came across, somebody offered me these seats that were right by the media area. And so I sold my tickets. And she and her niece, who's visiting us right now, sat there. And she was literally the seat right in front of mine on Media Row. And it was tough to watch the second half of that game. And even I can tell by the back of her head when she would stand up, like she was mad about things. You know?
Oh, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
I can only imagine.
So, and it's
what was the mood? What was the mood like at home that evening? Too?
She was all right. She was better than she's been. I do think that the reality of who this Kansas team has kind of set in with her. So the problem is it's just a couple years removed from them being the best team in the country. So that's one of those things that we've all been through that. Well, maybe you haven't, Pierre, because you were a fan of teams who just love to throw rocks at you.
I know nothing of joy. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, if you were a character in Pulp Fiction, you would be the guy they stumble upon when Ving Rhames gets kidnapped.
Yeah, just as long as I'm not Ving Rhames, I think I'm doing okay.
So that's what they're doing to you, buddy. But the Dolphins in particular have no regard for your emotional well-being.
We could do. There's got to be one day where you and I could just do an hour show, and all it is just it's an airing of grievances for an hour about the Dolphins.
Oh, no! Look, I want to do it. I've had this idea for a podcast, and I did it like a tester. And once I find time to do it, but it's called A Walk Through Your Pain, and I could go through it each way with you, where you tell me the worst things. And what I will say, because you are a Sharks fan who have their ups and downs, right? Like they're
more ups than downs too. I mean, that team only missed the playoffs like twice in 20 years before this recent stretch. Yeah.
They're committed to excellence at the ownership level, I think.
Yes.
They just
I would agree.
They haven't quite gotten there yet, but they're not there's not a group that is like, well, maybe 10 years from now when things change. Like that's not them.
Right.
But the Kings are all over the map.
That's another easily hour. We don't have enough time for that one.
All over the map. And then the Dolphins, that's the one I think is really the meanest to you.
Oh, without a doubt. And let's not forget, we also have the Oakland A's, who also could be, that's another easily hour-long one that we could do.
So, yes, you have you have chosen a very masochistic route to fandom.
No, absolutely. I don't know what I did to deserve this life, Paul, but somebody has to lead it.
Garrett, have we found the exact opposite of me?
I think so. I think we're making a good case here.
And listen, I have connections to all these, so this is not. I'm not. Yeah, Garrett, I'm not a bandwagon guy.
Nope, not a bandwagon.
I'm not a bandwagon.
I know as well. Yeah.
So I've got the Red Sox. I've got the Spurs. I've got the Cowboys. I've got Florida State. I've won a bunch of titles. Listen. My fandom has nothing but trophies on the wall. So I understand what it's like to have a good season, a bad season, but I also understand I think a man as a Kansas fan feels how I did in 2015 with Florida State, where it's like, well, they're good. Something's wrong. This is something wrong. This is not, I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. I don't like the way this is starting to smell. I don't like it. And Kansas, to the benefit of Kansas fans, it's bad news in the short term that maybe you're not going to make as deep a run. But I will tell you this, Kansas having 7 losses, if they only finish with 7, if they win their next 2 games and are 11-7 in the league before they go in the tournament, if they only finish with 7, is the worst thing that can happen to the Big 12. Because there are people whose whole personality is wrapped up in Kansas basketball that have millions of dollars that they're spending on nothing right now. And they only want this thing that brings them joy and creates their personality. So to make up for what was a terrible decision with Arterio Morris, I do think that the NIL bank in Lawrence, Kansas is open. And you are like, if you were going to apply for a loan, as long as your credit score is better than Arterio Morris's, you're approved. Bottom line.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be maybe an onslaught of what happens in the portal with Kansas this year. Although it's not going to be one of those things where it's going to be desperate, but Bill Self will just send out the Jayhawk signal and be like, come to one of the best coaches of all time. Come to me.
I think what I will say about it. I don't know if I should admit this out loud, but I'm going to anyway. Now, I've never liked that school. I've just never ever. There's a handful of schools because it's so silly. It's based on. I couldn't even tell you what it's based off of too, because growing up in the suburbs of Sacramento, California, it's not like I had any personal connection or personal. I think the reason why I never liked Kansas is because growing up, I would always see them flame out in the tournament. Always. They would come in as a 1 seed or a 2 seed, and in the round of 32, they're done. They get bounced. Always always a disappointing school for me growing. I think that's why I was always annoyed with them. It's just like everybody builds you up as the school, and you get bounced every year. Why should I buy into this hype?
Yeah. Now Bill Self, though. I mean, look, he is 2008, and now
different era now.
Different era. I mean, he's one of the greats
Yes.
of all time. So, and I say that Amanda would come on the show right now and tell you if it came down to me and Bill Self, it's Bill Self.
Roy Williams, though, you have a chance.
Yeah, Roy. Well, look, Roy's might as well be dead to all the people. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't exist. It's not a thing that happened. Right. Just they were good, but not great.
He who shall not be named.
Yeah. They don't have any ill will to him, but it's just it would be like if the you're married, you're happy for 25 years, and you're at an airport and you bump into your high school girlfriend and you forget why you even liked her in the first place. That's a bit we had some good times, had my first beer with that chick, and then it's I don't even know what I was doing.
Yeah. Wasn't was Larry Brown coaching in Kansas back in the 80s?
Yeah, Larry Brown won with Danny Manning. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
Larry Brown coaching stops are like Madonna boyfriends. There's a ton of them.
Yeah. And dude.
Up and down. So
I would fail that test immediately. I could get a few in the NBA. I know where he's been, but in college or before that.
We did Larry Brown or not Larry Brown.
Yes.
It would be.
I like this idea.
Could be fun.
Yeah,
that could be fun.
That is a good one.
We'll just play that game. Larry Brown or not Larry Brown. It's going to take some preparation because there's less not Larry Brown, so I'd have to build it up so there's even.
I think you've stumbled onto something here, pal.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a winner.
Yeah. When you and I finally host that sports game show.
Oh,
that's going to come after we win the Amazing Race.
Yes, that's the Amazing Race victory is going to catapult us finally to where we should have been 10 years ago.
Yes, exactly. Hosting a sports game show.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
But Pierre, the Underwear Olympics just wrapped up in Indianapolis. The NFL Combine. I enjoy the NFL Combine quite a bit. I do. Okay. Except for the fact that everybody's evaluations change somehow after it. I only think it should improve what you think of a guy and not necessarily, unless he just shows up with nacho cheese on his shirt as he's running the 40.
Right.
Unless that happens, I think you should just, this either enhances or confirms what I thought about this guy when I watched him play a football game on tape. That's where I go awry, where somebody will have a bad combine workout and they'll be like, oh, well, I guess he sucks after all. And you're like, well, right. I don't know. I mean, he looked like he was pretty good in college. Garrett, where do you stand on this?
I mean, I don't put much anything into the Underwear Olympics, honestly. I'd rather see what you do on film. And it's cool that you were saying this because I was actually listening to Albert Breer the other day on Dan Patrick. He was saying most of the NFL teams, a lot of them weren't even staying throughout it because they've realized right now it's more about TV, and it's a TV show that ESPN has created than what you actually do and the value you get from there, that they don't even mind players skipping it now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're going to get private workouts and
Exactly.
pro days and all those things where they can kind of drill down on specific guys a little bit more. But I do think it's an important thing for guys to go and show their readiness for being a professional. That's what I think the combine is for. Like, how serious do you take it? Like, what can we know about you that's measurable, that can confirm or deny what we've watched? For example, I am not at all shocked that Xavier Worthy broke the record.
Oh, no.
Not like that was like, oh, he broke the 40 record? Yeah. We watched him do that for 3 years at Texas, run past people. That's what he does. So that shouldn't have surprised you. But your thoughts on anything that stuck out to you in the combine this week, and if you were a GM, how would you use it to supplement what you do?
I think there's some validity to it. I think you want to see the numbers matter. The speed numbers matter. You know, the broad jump, the cone drills. You know, this stuff matters, but it's not. If I was an NFL GM, I would probably come away from that weekend thinking, okay, well, maybe that guy surprised me, or that guy didn't do as well as I thought I would. But you heard Garrett say it. What's on film to me is really what matters. When you go up against other guys and put a helmet on a helmet, that's what matters to me. Not to say that the combine numbers, not that it doesn't matter. I think it does matter. I think some of it matters, but it doesn't matter as, if one guy, doesn't run as fast of a 40 time, does that suddenly drop him a full round below maybe what he might have gone? I mean, maybe it does, but at the same time too, that doesn't make me more pessimistic about a certain guy. If I have enough tape on him and I've seen him enough times, that doesn't make me think, it doesn't make me more pessimistic about the fact that he still could be a good pro.
No.
So
if I like a guy or don't like a guy, the combine is only going to reinforce what I think.
Yeah.
And look, there might be some guys I think it's good where maybe I don't know completely a lot about him because I haven't gotten a chance to watch him. And then he goes and does all these measurables. And I'm like, maybe I need to go watch that film. Like,
yeah.
If this I've heard about this guy, but I haven't really watched him. Let me go watch that film again. I might have missed something here.
I still am of the only takeaway I still have that has been consistent over the years is if you are designing a play where an offensive lineman needs to run a sub 540, that play is probably ill-conceived. Like, the 40 times for offensive and defensive linemen to me are just that it's laughable to me. It's like, what are we doing here?
You know what it shows me if you're an offensive or defensive lineman and you can move is that you are in great shape. And like that, I don't have to worry about. Like, I like your athleticism. You're in great shape, but I'm more concerned about that, like 3-cone and shuttle drill.
That's where I'm at.
I want to know what your 4-yard dash is. What is your 4-yard dash?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said it, the 3-cone and the shuttle for the big men. That's the one I'm paying attention to. I get it. But in terms of an overall evaluation, of how high do I need my running back to jump? I mean, how far is my quarterback sailing it over his head? It's like there's some drills for certain positions I think are a little kind of like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get what I'm saying.
No, I do think this, and I would say this about Xavier Worthy. I think he's now created a situation where people are going to have to draft him before Patrick Mahomes gets him.
Yeah. Oh God. Yes. Yes.
That's what's happened is that somebody who is like, maybe I like Keon Coleman better, or maybe I like Adonai Mitchell better, or maybe I like Lad McConkey better. And all those guys would probably be great with Patrick Mahomes. But the fact that the one thing it feels like the Chiefs have been missing, in spite of continuing to win without him, is that Tyreek Hill explosiveness that makes their offense just completely different. And if you put Xavier Worthy in Kansas City with that man,
everybody's going to be looking around saying, what were we thinking?
Yeah. The Broncos should draft him at 12 just to make sure he does not ruin their lives for 4 to 5 years. Just that time would be worth it. So look, We've seen him a lot. He's an excellent punt returner. He's got good hands. The only thing you can knock on Xavier Worthy is he's not very big at all, which is also why he's so fast.
Right.
You know, sometimes you look at the guy in a good stiff breeze would look like he'd knock it over, but he's fairly strong. You know, he's not going to break a lot of tackles, but he doesn't have to, because if you can get to him, that's, you know, maybe the greatest athletic moment of your life. So I just think and I look at, you see certain players and you're like, this guy's a Kansas City Chief. He just looks like a Kansas City Chief to me. But I wouldn't be surprised if at 28, the Bills are like, nope. We'll find a tackle or a guard later on. We're going to go get this guy now.
When I saw the 40 time come in, it did cross my mind. What if you put him and Tyreek and Jalen Waddle on the field at the same time? That did cross my mind. But you know, the Miami Dolphins have many more pressing needs than another speedy wide receiver. But it did cross my mind. What if you had all three of those guys on the field at the same time? Yeah. What kind of a nightmare would that be?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think so. So I can't even fathom it. They have other the Dolphins, as you know, have other issues.
I'm well aware. Yes,
they had a really good center who tore his ACL right as the season was ending, and Connor Williams. They are going to have to draft a defensive end. Christian Wilkins is a free agent. We'll actually do this in NFL draft rapid fire. I think we need to put the Dolphins under the microscope at the end of the show, don't we, Garrett? I think we do, because Pierre is here, and he says his dream job is game show host. But if we shot truth serum into his arm, his real dream job would be the Jerry Jones of the Miami Dolphins.
What could not you have me pegged to a T, my friend?
Like if you just I'm more money than I can spend, and I'm going to spend it on the Dolphins, and I'm going to make these decisions because no one has been doing it right for 30 years.
I have been saying since I was 14 years old, and there's a very specific draft not too long after that age. I have been saying since that age, I am the only person qualified to run that football team, and I have yet to be proven wrong almost 25 years later. I have yet to be proven wrong.
Yeah. Well, yeah, look, you might, I can't tell you are. I can't tell you are wrong.
Right.
And I even think, when was Jay Fiedler?
Jay Fiedler was 2000 because Dan Marino's last game was in the 99 season, I want to say. 99, and then Jay Fiedler was 2000.
Yeah. And then
which was the last time that team won a playoff game.
Yeah. And so they spent all that time between Dan Marino and now Tua trying to tell you why they weren't drafting a quarterback.
Correct.
Or they drafted Ryan Tannehill, who had little flashes of he's really athletic, and let's see what happens if he gets coached up. And then his best years of his career happened when the Dolphins thought he was done.
Do we have time for this now? Because I don't want to hijack. I don't want to hijack the show. I don't want to alienate.
I want you to illuminate our listeners. We'll talk about their draft stuff at the end of the show.
Okay.
And then we're going to talk about playoff stuff in a second. But let's go ahead and let you have. We're going to give you the floor for your rant, Pierre, because Pierre is truly great at rants.
There are two specific instances. There are more than enough. I could list name after name after name.
You do a dissertation. You'd be Pierre Noujaim, PhD, if you could. Yeah.
Correct. But I'm going to get right to it. There's two specific moments that stand out to me in the NFL draft. Like I said, shortly after the 98 season, in 99, where they were on the clock deep in the first round, I think it was 27th overall. Don't hold me to that. When it was clear that this was going to be Dan Marino's last year, if not, he's only got 2 years left. And I'm sitting there watching the draft, banging the table saying, take Drew Brees. For the love of God, draft Drew Brees. And what did they do? Paul? They drafted Jamar Fletcher, a corner, when they had Pat Surtain and Sam Madison in their prime. And they draft another corner instead of taking Drew Brees. I was 14 or 15 years old, but what do I know about football at that age? Of course, so that the history, we're not even going to get into the history. Item number 2, when I was in the Hotel Marriott bar in San Antonio in the 2012 draft, and RG3 goes number 2 overall, And there are the Dolphins sitting at 8 overall. And one of my best friends, my very best friend, Dave, who is a huge Bills fan. And I turn to him and I say, if this team takes Ryan Tannehill at number 8, it is going to get very ugly in this bar very quickly. It is going to get ugly. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, and I booed and I probably yelled out some 4-letter words. I was asked to leave the bar and I did. And if you paid attention to the track record of Ryan Tannehill's time in Miami, you will see I was justified once again. And every single year when the draft would come around, what is the Dolphins' biggest need? Quarterback. I would always say quarterback when Ryan Tannehill was a quarterback, because the way they managed that situation, bringing no competition whatsoever for him in training camp every single year for some reason. The fury that just boils through my veins whenever I think of the Ryan Tannehill era in Miami continues to sizzle to this very day.
At least you weren't sitting where I was.
Oh, where were you sitting?
I watched him in person.
Yeah.
Walk up on stage. You know who I was sitting next to? You know who I was sitting next to?
Who?
I was sitting next to Smokey on one side and Artie Lang and Jay Glazer on the other side. It was a very weird night, but yes.
Yeah, that's quite the names.
Yes.
That's some names.
But I was there, and we were there because there's RG3's draft night, right?
Right.
So we were there for RG3, and then Tannehill was kind of a bonus as far as local radio coverage goes.
Sure.
So I got to see it in person. I also got to see, and this is a story I can't tell in the air because it's not ever going to come across the right way, but I will tell you later about RG3's then wife and then Lauren Tannehill and the fashion competition that Lauren Tannehill didn't realize she was in.
I see. In this instance, in this story, in my mind, I'm thinking you turned over to Artie Lang in this story and said, boy, Pierre's going to be pissed. He's like, well, that's how the story goes in my mind.
Here's what I do know. I mean, we knew each other back then.
Yes.
And I do remember like getting on our group chat and going, Pierre, how are you doing? And then words that we can say on YouTube, but we probably shouldn't, because it would change the direction of this show. So I remember the night very well. And it may have been like a couple hours later, but I was like, I wonder what Pierre thinks about this. And
the feelings are still with me now. Like my heart is racing. My chest is heavy. Like it has never, that moment has never left me, nor do I think it will ever.
Yeah. No, I know. I get it. I know. Look, I had to sit through that very same Drew Brees draft. The Cowboys drafted Quincy Carter and traded back.
Yeah.
When they could have traded up a couple picks and gotten Drew Brees in the second round, they traded back even further. And we're like, we'll take Quincy Carter. That was the beginning of what I call Jerry's baseball player phase, where Quincy Carter was a baseball player, Chad Hutchinson was a baseball player, Drew Henson was a baseball player. I was like, that was the name I was thinking of, I just kept waiting for him to be like, our new quarterback is Alex Rodriguez. Like, he's so good at baseball. Like, I'm honestly shocked that Josh Booty didn't play for the Cowboys. Shocked. Yeah. Shocked beyond belief that Josh Booty did not play for the Cowboys, because Jerry was in a phase where, oh, man, this kid was a professional baseball player. That's something, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Two years later, the Dolphins traded up to the number 3 pick to take Deion Jordan. Who went right after Deion Jordan? Lane Johnson.
Yeah. No, your pain is justified, Pierre.
Yes.
All right,
thank you.
We'll take a break. Since we've last spoken, the college football playoff powers that be have thrown a bunch of stuff at the wall to see if it sticks. And man, it's just silly. There's varying opinions on it, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it as we get closer to what will be a decision in a couple weeks on what the playoff's going to be in 2026 and beyond. This is the Triple Option on 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast just got faster.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome back alongside Pierre Noujaim. Becoming a fan favorite, really, in the chat room.
I would tell the fans, we haven't even scratched the surface yet.
No. Part of me wants you to keep your regular job, but part of me does have a bit of a destructive streak to see what your career could be if you just blew it up. Because I believe in your talent, Pierre. So,
well, I'm glad somebody does. Thank you very much. Your support means everything to me.
Look, I would be a very good TV agent for my people.
We talked about this last week.
Yeah, I mean, no, this is a different thing. Like, as a consultant, I'd be great, but as an agent.
Oh, consultant. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yes.
As an agent, though, if I called up and was like, listen, that clown that you've got doing sports is 700 years old. All right.
Yeah.
Like, I can hear his adult diaper crackling when he moves at the chair. He doesn't even do stand-ups anymore. You can't have this guy. You need somebody young and fresh with energy that's got zeal, that's not afraid to ask the tough question. That's right. That doesn't not just going to go out to dinner every week with the coach from 40 years ago. Like, that's not right. What you need. You need somebody like Pierre. That's what you need. So
correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. No, I do. I spend a lot of my time with, especially people who are in what I think is the Waco fraternity that have come through here, checking up on their stuff and, seeing how they're doing. And most of them are doing well. One of them has one of my dream jobs, and that's Jemai Webster, who is the sideline reporter for the Red Sox. And he's gotten so much better over the years talent-wise that when I first met Jemai, if you had told me that he was going to have that job and not only have it but be excellent at it, I'd have been like, man, that's going to be a long time from now. And really, no, he's fantastic at it. So
that's outstanding.
Yeah. Although I don't know if that's my dream job because even though the Red Sox have been good, giving me that proximity to owners who aren't spending money that they clearly have because they just spent $3 billion on golf. Not spending money that they clearly have to make the team better for one of the best fan bases in sports I'd just ask maybe questions that need to be asked, but not in the most polite way. I've done well with the Cowboys, but I just think with the Red Sox, here's the thing I know with the Cowboys. Jerry's trying to win. So when I cover the Cowboys, I know he's trying to win. He just can't get out of his own way. That's Jerry's problem. With the Red Sox owners, I kind of feel that they have said, listen, you got 4 World Series, shut up about it. We gave and we gave and we gave and we gave. Now it's time for something else. And you're like, well,
I worked in Sacramento for 2 years, which is my hometown. Mm-hmm. And let's just say, if I could go back and do things differently, I would do a couple things differently so when you go home, you feel like you're home, you stretch your legs, if everybody knows me, but you forget that not everybody doesn't know you, know? And let's just say I know that I did not endear myself too well with the Sacramento Kings brass with what I had to say on television at times.
It's hard to cover a team that you like.
Yeah, it's hard. Yes, it really is.
You have to separate yourself from that. But I've been very good at it covering the Cowboys. Yeah. I don't know that I could cover Florida State the same way. I don't know that I could cover the Red Sox the same way. I could be fine with the Spurs. But I covering Florida State, if I was doing this show in Tallahassee, I might have a very different reputation as a talking head.
I can see it.
And it wouldn't even be because I'd go on rants or anything like that, but I would probably throw some darts that some were right and some were wrong, and the wrong ones would be my emotions in the moment. As where I've been able to step back from the Cowboys and see how things work, and I know exactly, everybody who covers them knows why it doesn't work. But nobody will tell you that's their day in and day out watching the Cowboys, that they're not trying to win. Jerry wants to try to win in a very, he's only going to go one way on the map. All roads have to lead through this one spot, and that's where he's no matter changes in philosophy, schematically, all that stuff, coaches, the road still has to go through Jerrytown, Jerryville to do that, right? And that's where it has, as opposed to Jerry can step back and just watch it happen and pay for it. That's where it gets caught up. But I want to talk about the CFP before we get to NFL Draft Rapid Fire. They just don't even know what 12 is yet, Pierre. They don't know how. That could be the perfect way to do it. Only things I would, honestly, with 12, the only thing I would change is I would get the bowl games out of it. But look, that's a minor concession to me overall to make sure that we have the best 12 teams. I did a top 5 on it on Friday, which maybe we'll reload for tomorrow because I've already done one for today. But a top 5 about, here's how I would build it up. And especially I want to hear John Willner, who we're going to have on the show, has a kind of maybe a different take on these AQs. But I need to let him try to convince me he's right before I go both barrels on that one. But it's just, I don't like where we're headed in America in general, where because you are a better business model that you get what you want in spite of that. That we're going to merge the two big things and expect that to be the best thing. For lack of a better term, I feel like the Big 12 and ACC are like the small businesses of America trying to fight for their rightful place in the economy. And we're kind of okay, well, we know that we have to have you because without small businesses, you can't grow and the corporations can't gobble you up. But we don't want to give you that much. It just bothers me. It just bothers me that where we're at in almost every decision in every walk of life in this country, and it's spilling over to college football, which is the thing I love the most in the world, and I don't want to see it ruined just because, there's a bunch of suits in a room that are, oh, this is how it should be. This would be better,
Yeah. Well, and you know me, I think we touched on this a little bit last week. I wanted it at 8 because I thought that, you have a Power 5 winner and then you have 3 at large. I thought that was the right number. I thought that was probably the best because I don't need 10, 11, 12 down to 16. If we're getting down to 16, are we really going to miss those teams if 10 to 16 didn't get into the top 8? It's not like it's the top 4. Where debate is rampant and the conversation is rampant. I think if you're at 8, everybody can kind of think to themselves, you have your Power 5 winner, your 3 at large, and everybody's like, okay, I'm good with this. But now we've seen the absolute implosion of the Pac-12. That's gone. And like you mentioned with the Big 12, and this is something I feel like the Big 12 doesn't get enough credit for. When you're losing Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC, and you scramble to keep the conference together, and you keep it together with some pretty respectable universities and pretty respectable programs, and you get treated like you're kind of the inconvenient stepchild, that bothers me because the Big 12 doesn't get enough credit, I think, for keeping that conference together the way it's built together now, losing Texas and losing Oklahoma. So this notion that the SEC and the Big 10 are just, we're the power couple and you guys are going to do everything we say all the time, no matter what. It's like, I know you've got some great programs. I know you've got some blue bloods in there, but it's like, what are we doing here? When did I have to bow down to the SEC and the Big 10? I know I'm going to get pushback for that. It's like, well, the SEC pretty much runs the country at this point. Well, okay, but to what end?
Yeah. I know, sometimes you need to take and teach the big boys a lesson. I got up this morning and was mad for 20 minutes because I read an article where the the CEO of ExxonMobil is like, listen, it's not our fault about climate change. It's all of you for buying the gas, which is the only thing that can run your cars that we give you. Like, look, we don't need to make more of an effort. You need to drive less. You're like, whoa, buddy.
Yeah. Hold on a second now.
Like, I don't control the means of production here. Like,
yeah.
I have no control over it at all. I just show up to a gas station once a week and I go, well, that's what it costs today. And then I move on with my life. And then you get to kill a hooker in Vietnam because you have no consequences. Like, that's your life. You know,
the means of production. You know, Paul, I got some literature in the trunk of my car that I think you would find fascinating.
No, that's
like the other thing with the ACC. You know, Florida State. Who knows what's going to happen with Florida State, if they're going to stay in the ACC or not? Too, and the ACC. It's not like the ACC was some pushover conference.
Yeah,
I mean, it's this whole thing has just gotten. It feels like it's just gotten out of control. Yeah. It feels like it's just gotten out of control.
Yeah. There's 5 national titles in the last 32 years out of the ACC. Now, look, there's not as many. There's only 2 in the Big 12, and those 2 are leaving to go to the SEC. But it's not like there are not teams who have been relevant outside of those 2. There have been multiple teams. Baylor, TCU, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, Kansas State. All have been, you know, I'm not talking about recent. I'm talking about 30 years now. If you look at the most recent 30 years, which I think is a fair data set for college football, like that's 3 decades of seeing how cyclical things are, and we get caught up in what's great now. You know, like, you know, if you had told me to buy stock in a television station in 1992, I'd have been like, well, it's NBC. Like, everything is great on NBC. Shows would like Cheers would go off the air and they replace it with Frasier, which is better. Like, you know, Friends and Seinfeld, and it was everything was just humming along. ER was amazing. But now I'd be like, I don't know how I feel about, you know, This Is Us being the anchor of the station. You know, things change. So while right now the SEC is, you know, was it must-see TV? Yeah, is must-see TV in the 90s where they're Friends and Seinfeld and Frasier and whatever random 4th show you threw in there and ER, like, you know, they're humming along.
Yeah.
Like, okay, but, you know, they could wind up being UPN before you know it, right?
You're absolutely right.
You have no idea. Things change. Like, decision makers come and go. And, you know, look, if Greg Sankey retires or, you know, like just evaporates into nothing and goes on a multi-planetary spree of domination, I don't know what his next move is after this, but like if Greg Sankey's not there, what if the next guy's kind of a wimp? You know, is the SEC going to be that good? Look, the Big Ten was like always had. They had Jim Delaney. They had Kevin Warren, who they didn't like, who made this gigantic TV deal. But I do feel like they think if Kevin Warren had stayed, they'd be kind of in trouble right now because he was playing fast and loose with things. So, yeah, you've stepped into some good things, but what happens if the guy after Tony Petitti sucks? Yeah. You know, like those things happen. And that's why I don't think you should just push all the chips to the table on the big brands because, you know, big companies fold all the time. When was the last time you went to a Bennigan's?
Yeah. Amen to that. Like the other thing too, you mentioned it a little bit off the top. It's like if you know you want to get to 16, then why bother with the trial run of 12? Why if you come out and say, well, we're going to go to 12, but we want to get to 16? It's like, well, then why didn't you think of the game plan 2 years ago to just open it up with 16? Why are we even bothering with this dog and pony show of 12?
We might have the TV deal for it already in place, if not for Kevin Warren convincing Jim Phillips and George Kliavkoff that they were all equal parts of an alliance that was united against the SEC. Like, that's what they were doing. Like, we're going to fight the power. Like, no. I'm just going to use you two idiots until I can get on equal footing as them. And then when they're like, hey, about that scheduling alliance, they're like, man, I don't know. I don't think we're going to do that. I don't think we're going to.
This is starting to feel like the MTV Challenge show in real life.
Yes. By the way, just hot reunion the other day.
What drama?
What
absolute draw. I was telling people I was looking forward to the reunion way more than I was the final.
Hey, here's
way
the
more.
thing. On the challenge, you're either like a pretty together person who's got some skills, or you're just a train wreck. All
I'm going to say real quick about that is my emotions have not been rocked the way that they were watching Olivia and Nerys interact together. Like I said, what drama?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's take a break right here. And when we come back, Pierre is going to solve the Dolphins draft problems. And I will give you, listen, we've been focusing on the first round, Garrett, right?
Yep.
All right, I'm going to give you all the picks, and you pick a position. I'll try to maybe fill in a guy who would be available for you. But I'll run a little mock draft simulator on a computer here. And so you tell me who you want in those spots at what positions, and we'll see if Pierre can build a better Dolphins team with a draft that they're still missing their third-round pick because of
and fourth-round pick.
And fourth-round pick. Because they traded the fourth-round pick, right?
Correct.
And the third-round pick is because they tried to sign a guy who never played for them.
Correct. What was his name again?
Tim Brody.
Yeah, good player.
Tim
good.
Brody went to Western Michigan. That's where he went to. Good old Tim Brody. All right, when we come back, NFL Draft Rapid Fire as Pierre tries to fix his beloved Dolphins.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast just got faster.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome back. We're going to use ProFootballNetwork.com's mock draft here. And I'm going to put it on 7 rounds. I'm going to select the Dolphins. And hold on, let me find them. And we're going to go. So
is this on NFL Network site or sorry?
No, ProFootballNetwork.com.
Okay, Pro Football. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. I'm going to eschew the trade offers that it throws out at me because we don't know that. You would have taken this one that it just threw up there. But all right. Pick 21.
Yeah.
Pick 21. What are you taking?
Okay. I want to preference at pick 21. I want to preference it with this. The thought process, the fact that they're even entertaining the notion of letting Christian Wilkins enter free agency makes me want to take a baseball bat to my sliding glass door right now. Christian Wilkins should be signed before Tua Tagovailoa. Period. End of story. That being said, and I know this also depends on if Teron Armstead retires. If Teron Armstead retires, then we've got a different story. I would have to change my thought process.
Okay.
But if Teron Armstead stays at left tackle and they let Christian Wilkins walk out the door, I've got 2 names. The first one is my man crush, who probably, this might be a little high for him, but I watch him play. Johnny Newton out of Illinois.
Hey, not too high for him. He's available. He's available.
Johnny Newton out of Illinois, to me, watching film on him and then watching if you put on the tape of the Minnesota game when he was suspended for the first half and then he played in the second half and the drastic difference in Minnesota's offense from the first half to second half tells me everything I need to know.
Okay.
Johnny Newton is one name.
Okay. Johnny, what's the other one?
One of your boys, who the combine darling to me, that made my eyes kind of buck, Braden Fisk.
Fisk. Okay, well, Johnny Newton's available here. So is Braden Fisk, but further down the list, since he was the first name you said, we're going to take Johnny Newton. All right, then we're going to let this thing spin to pick 55.
Okay,
and all right, well, there's another trade you would have taken, but
I would have taken it. Yeah, I'm trading all the way down to recoup assets. That's what I'm doing at this point.
You wouldn't have to trade very far down, but let's just say that they're not that smart. Okay. Especially since you're drafting 21, 55, and then not again till 157. So this is the net. There's 102 picks if the Dolphins don't make any moves between this pick and the next one. We just drafted a defensive tackle. Who you taking?
In round 2, we're on to round 2.
Yes.
I would say, Xavier Howard is out the door. They didn't play Cam Smith last year at all. I'm wondering if he can step in and fill. And if they think he can, then you have to address offensive line, interior guard, because Robert Hunt's probably going to leave as a free agent. Connor Williams, I don't know. They might get Connor Williams back at a discount after he tore his knee. So maybe they get him back at a discount. He stays at center. But I would say the interior or the offensive line, you got to look at guard or tackle, depending on Teron Armstead.
Okay, so best available right now based on the rankings here. Now, I will give you a little bit of fudging here because this is somebody else's and not mine. But the top 2 guards available are Christian Haynes from UConn, who's very good, and Dominic Puny from Kansas, who I like a lot. Garrett will tell you. Yep. Yeah, I'm a big Dominic Puny guy from Kansas. Those are the guards available. You're not getting into good tackle territory until really, there might be a couple that could be available later on, but those are the 2 best available. And when it comes to cornerback, who you mentioned earlier, Kalen Carson of Wake Forest, DJ James of Auburn, and Max Melton of Rutgers, who had a great combine. Yeah. So between those guys, who are we taking?
I would take... at this point, it's kind of like, wait, give me the names again. Give me the names one more time.
Okay. Kalen Carson of Wake Forest.
Yeah.
DJ James of Auburn. Max Melton of Rutgers, who I think is a little low ranked here and might move up after they get done doing their post combine stuff. Or Christian Haynes of UConn or Dominic Puny of Kansas.
I'm gonna stick to the line. I'm gonna go with Puny. I would probably go somewhere in that neighborhood. And this we haven't even solved the problem. For me personally, I can't believe I left this name out. In the first round, potentially could be Leatu Latu. Yeah. Because Jalen Phillips is recovering from an Achilles tear. Bradley Chubb tore his ACL late in December, so he's not going to be ready for training camp. So and Andrew Van Ginkel is a free agent. So you have a massive hole to fill as for your edge rushers as well. So all across the defensive front is really my first priority, and then I would address offensive line second.
Okay, so we did draft Dominic Puny, who I will tell you plays in a wide zone scheme, which is good because that is what Mike McDaniel runs. So that's a nice fit. That's a good pick, Pierre. You've got 2 solid, very steady picks here addressing up front. All right, now we're at pick 157. The next pick is 186.
At 157, Jerome Baker could also be out the door. So now you got to address middle linebacker. You got to address probably off-ball linebacker. With Vic Fangio walking out the door, it's going to be a new scheme. So I'm looking probably, I think I'm going linebacker here if there's somebody, but it's a light class for linebacker. So I don't even know who would be available there at 150.
There's several that are in this range, and I'll give you Curtis Jacobs of Penn State, Aaron Casey of Indiana, Tyrese Knight of UTEP, Tommy Eichenberg of Ohio State, which I would, if I were you, I like Tommy Eichenberg, and Marist Liafu of Notre Dame.
Sometimes I like the small school late steals. So UTEP sounds pretty good.
Okay.
Let's go with that.
Tyrese Knight from UTEP. Okay.
Let's do that.
All right. Now as we wait to go to pick 186, you can okay. So at 186, this is now in the 6th round, which is where you're not really drafting for need so much anymore as you are best player available. So
no, I might surprise you here actually in round 6.
Okay.
I think I would. There's been whispers that Jason Sanders, who had a pretty good season kicking the football, could be a cap casualty.
Okay.
So we're looking for a kicker here in round 6 on the cheap.
Okay. So Harrison Mevis, the thicker kicker from Mizzou, and Will Reichard are the ones I will throw at you from Alabama.
Thicker kicker with a name like that, you need to go in round 1, but at round 6, it's an absolute steal, Paul. I tell you, a steal.
Okay, there we go. All right, now we're at pick 200.
Okay.
You have one more pick at 239, I believe. Maybe 2. But yeah, one more pick at 239, unless one sneaks up on me that I missed here. But all right, so pick 200. And we're still in the 6th round.
I think I'm looking. I don't know if they're. Let's see. Jeff Wilson Jr. I don't think is going to be back with the team next year.
No.
Mostert. I don't know if
he'll be back. He'll be back.
I was about to say I don't think he's going to be.
Achane is going to be back.
Achane. So, I might need a third running back who could play special teams. So I might look at running back, but probably edge rusher is more of the need.
Okay, I got a couple here.
Yeah.
Cedric Johnson from Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Jalix Hunt from Houston Christian, formerly Houston Baptist. Gabriel Murphy from UCLA and Nelson Caesar from Houston.
Because I will never pick somebody from USC, so let's go with Nelson Caesar.
Well, it was UCLA, but even still.
Oh, UCLA, whatever. Yeah. Anything
Nelson
from Los
Caesar,
Angeles.
Good choice. All right.
Yeah.
As we get down to your final pick at 239, what position are you looking at?
Tight end, maybe.
Tight end? Okay.
No.
Yeah. Look.
Yeah, let's go tight end. Oh. Yeah, that's the reaction I thought I would be getting. You know what I would say though, Paul?
Yeah.
They're going to probably restructure Tyreek Hill's contract or attempt to. Jalen Waddle needs to be paid. I don't know what could go south faster. So you might want to perhaps get a little insurance at receiver.
All right. Man, a lot of these guys are stretches here.
Yeah.
I mean, trying to find somebody who might be a little bit undervalued. All right, here, I'll give you one. Okay. One I've heard 2 different draft experts talk about. He's a wide receiver from Pittsburgh. His name's Bub Means, 6'1", 212. Played cornerback early on and then transferred and started playing wide receiver. Let's take a flyer on Bub Means.
I like it.
Yes. All right, so there we go.
Are they going to issue a grade? Is this one of the ones where you simulate?
No, that's Pro Football Focus, and their database is not quite as deep yet, and they are a little slavish to their rankings.
Understood.
So
understood.
Sometimes I don't understand why a guy was 47th and he's 150th.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you watch film and go, oh, I thought he was good, but he sucks? I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get it. But
sure.
Plus Collinsworth runs that place, so a little bit. I'm a little bit doubting of it. So your draft is at 21, Johnny Newton, defensive tackle, Illinois. At 55, Dominic Puny of Kansas. At 157, Tyrese Knight, linebacker, UTEP. At 186, Harrison Mevis of Mizzou, the kicker. And then 200, Nelson Caesar, edge, Houston. And Bub Means, wide receiver, Pittsburgh, with your last pick of the draft. Just to kind of Cedric Wilson's leaving. He's a free agent. So you're going to have So there's.
I don't hate that.
Yeah.
I don't hate it.
Okay.
If at the same time, I've been telling my best buddy Dave that I mentioned, I've said to him a number of times, if Johnny Newton falls to Buffalo down there at 26 or wherever they are, and they get him, I'm going to be infuriated.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. I'm sending this to you, by the way.
Okay. Very good.
You can see it, and then you can have that, and
I'm gonna mull it over. And maybe we'll redo this before April 25th.
Okay. Here, I'll also send you the website if you need a wonderful time waster here.
Oh, I'm packing to move apartments, and I've just about had enough right now. So this is going to be. I should be packing more, but no, I'm going to do this instead.
What would you rather do? Okay.
Oh,
question right now: moving or surgery?
What am I getting surgery on?
I mean, nothing that's going to like lay you up for a very long time, but like, say you're getting your knee scoped.
Okay. I would say if it's anything other than my back, I'm taking the surgery.
Yeah. So like liver transplant over.
Yeah.
Moving.
I'm 100%. Without question. If it's back surgery, I'm taking the moving. Any other type of surgery, I'm taking the surgery.
Garrett, where are you on this?
As somebody who lives upstairs, I'm taking surgery all day.
So surgery over moving. Chat, where are you at on this? Surgery or moving?
Man,
I need to know this. Surgery over moving.
The only reason why I've tolerated the sirens and gunshots where I live for as long as I have is because I hate moving that much.
Yeah. Paxton says moving.
Wow.
Yeah. No.
Wow.
He clearly has not moved apartments that much.
No.
Yeah.
No.
No.
I've done it many a time.
When you have that, there's a point in your life in your late 20s and early 30s where like you start making a little bit more money, so you start upgrading your living quarters. And so if you get like a raise every couple years, then like you're in an apartment for 2 years, you're in an apartment for 2 years, you're in an apartment for 2 years. And then you hit a point where like, I'm just staying in this one until it's time to go.
That's exactly how I felt about this one.
Yeah. And you buy, and then you buy a house like I did.
Yeah.
And then that's a whole different set of problems.
Well, that from what I hear, I can tell you I don't want to put down a property here in this place. It's too cold out here. I can tell you that, Paul.
Yeah. No. By the way, breaking news. Baywatch is returning to television.
No, I don't. No, I already know every which way they're going to ruin that show. And I'm already saying no. I'm out. Absolutely not.
Yeah. First of all,
absolutely not.
I'm going to tell you, it was a dumb show premise anyways, that like lifeguards had that much ability to fight crime or whatever they were doing half the time.
Yeah.
Or that Mitch was a private investigator and a lifeguard. Like, I get it. When it's the gig economy, if you're a lifeguard in Southern California, you probably have to have something else going on. But
listen, I would encourage anyone to go listening and watching right now. After the show is over, go on YouTube and find the Mike Piazza cameo appearance on Baywatch. And you will it will make you want to watch the entire series all over again.
I knew we had the right guy to talk about that story with.
It is gold. It is pure television gold.
All right. We're back at 3. We've got John Willner on today. We've got Matt Brown on today. We'll talk a little video game with him, but also how to make NILs not suck, which was his very good column today. We also have Garrett. Help me out here. Oh, I've got it. No, I've got it. Kirk Bowles of the Austin American-Statesman. I'm sure we'll talk.
Maceo Teague.
Yeah, we have Maceo Teague, former Baylor guard, one of my favorite guests, and Steve Berkowitz of USA Today, and my top 5. That's all coming up at 3 o'clock. This is 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN